Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, Ba'ashim, Barakah Kodash, Barakathum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who ruled and teach well, and peace and salutations to your Akim out there pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the Brother Raya with another video, and I'll be reading from an article on RT.com titled World Sleepwalking into Total Nuclear War as Callous Elites Fear No Bloodshed. And the world isn't sleepwalking into total nuclear war. The world's following the path that the Most High Yahweh, whom the world ignorantly refers to as God, has set forth for them. Because there is no free will, we're all at the mercy of whatever the Most High wants us to do. And it's biblical prophecy that there will be a nuclear war during this upcoming World War III. This is Amos chapter 3 verse 6. Shall a trumpet be blown in the city, and the people not be afraid? Shall there be evil in a city, and Yahweh hath not done it? The Most High causes both good and evil to happen into the world. There is no such thing as fallen angels or Satan going against the Most High, causing all this evil. That's just all Saturday morning cartoon fairy tales. Satan works for the Most High. He's one of his left-hand angels, the top left-hand angel. This is Deuteronomy 32 verse 39. See now that I, even I am he, and there is no God with me. I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. Point blank period. The Most High is in control of everything. And it's going to be the Most High that's going to put the spirit on these elites and other heads of state to push that button and launch these nukes. This is Proverbs 21 verse 1. The king's heart or mind is in the hand of Yahweh. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. A nuclear war is inevitable, and there's going to be no peace treaties or peace talks or weapons bans or anything like that that's going to avert it from coming to pass. Limiting nuclear arsenals doesn't make the world safer, not while the elites, who have never seen a big war, complacently believe they never will. This dangerous illusion invites apocalyptic conflict, a renowned scholar believes. Humankind's history might be a history of wars, but for several decades there was sort of a lull with no really big armed conflict affecting leading world powers. That is, in part thanks to nuclear weapons. Fear of their power kept the Cold War from becoming a hot one and restricted the actual fighting to proxy conflicts. And the reason there was no major nuclear conflict during the Cold War is because it wasn't the end times. Well, it wasn't the last seconds of the last days. The elect still needed to be woken up, and some other prophecies needed to come to their fulfillment before this nuclear destruction would take place. And that in turn has led to a situation where many of those currently in power don't take the threat of war with the gravity it deserves, says Sergei Karaganov, a researcher of international relations and a dean at Moscow's Higher School of Economics. Complacency breeds danger. The previous generations had a gut fear of war because their fathers or they themselves experienced World War II. As it says in Revelation chapter 9 verse 12, one woe or World War I is past, and behold, two woes more come hereafter, World War II and this upcoming World War III, which will be nuclear. But modern generations think of war very lightly, he told RT. This attitude is a major reason why the world now is in fact a more dangerous place than it was at the height of the US-Soviet confrontation, he believes. Some powers believe they are entitled to live in peace and cannot imagine that a smaller conflict elsewhere may escalate into a nuclear Armageddon. Meanwhile, old mechanisms meant to prevent such a disaster are rapidly deteriorating, he said, all through the will of the Most High. The king's heart is in the hands of the Most High. He directeth it whithersoever he will. It's the Most High putting the spirit on all these powers that be to take away all these safeguards to keep a nuclear war from happening. This year, Washington scrapped one of the key Cold War agreements restricting nuclear weapons, the INF Treaty, and indicated that another one, New START, would not be extended beyond 2021. The U.S. changed its nuclear posture and now doesn't rule out responding with nukes to a cyber attack. The Pentagon's generals want a larger toolbox of smaller nuclear weapons and are weighing up options on how to use them in regular conflicts, and best believe all these nuclear weapons will be used. They weren't made just to sit in a museum. Now I'm going to get into some precepts to show that nuclear missiles and nuclear war is biblical. This is Joel chapter 2. I'm going to read verse 1 through 6. Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain, which the men of the Lord, chiefly through GMS, are doing by going out there on the highways and byways preaching this word, as well as putting up video epistles like this to warn you Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, to come back to your power and to have a chance at salvation, to be saved from these coming terrible calamities. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of Yahweh cometh, for it is nigh at hand. And the day of the Most High is nigh at hand. You can see all the signs around you. A day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong. Speaking of these nuclear weapons, there hath not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it. And where it says there hath not been ever the like, it's referring to how these nuclear weapons came about very recently, starting with the atomic bombs during World War II. Neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. When these nuclear weapons are fired, all of them are going to be used, and that's going to be it. After this nuclear destruction takes place, the heathens are going to be taken out of power, and the Israelites are going to be back in power. And we're not going to allow you heathens to make these weapons anymore. Verse 3, a fire devoureth before them, those nuclear warheads detonating, and behind them a flame burneth, the destruction they leave behind. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them. The land looks normal. You have trees and grass and parks and buildings and people, and behind them a desolate wilderness. After that nuclear destruction, everything's going to look like a wasteland, like that movie Mad Max or that video game Fallout. Yeah, and nothing shall escape them. And if you're in the vicinity of that detonation, it's going to be game over. Verse 4, the appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen so shall they run. Like the noise of chariots on the tops of mountains shall they leap, like the noise of a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble, as a strong people set in battle array. And the reason the prophet Joel is likening these nuclear missiles to horses and chariots is because you have to remember that the prophets saw these visions thousands of years ago, so they didn't know what modern weapons technology was, so they described it the best way they could with what they knew during their time. Horses, chariots, arrows, swords, spears, javelins, you name it. Verse 6, before their face the people shall be much pained, all faces shall gather blackness. And when you look up that word blackness, it means heat or glow, and it has a double-fold meaning. On the one hand, it's referring to these people's countenance. They're going to be in a very scared and sad state when they see these nuclear missiles flying through the sky and coming to their destination. And also they're going to gather blackness when they get burned up and turned to ash when those nuclear missiles detonate. This is 2 Peter chapter 3 verse 10. But the day of Yahweh will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. And what's going to cause the elements to melt with fervent heat and the works of the earth to be burned up? Those nuclear missiles. That's the only thing that can cause that much widespread destruction by fire. This is Revelation chapter 8. I'm going to start at verse 7. The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth, these nuclear missiles and their destruction, and the third part of trees was burnt up, and all green grass was burnt up. And those trees are referring to people, because in the scriptures, trees are symbolic for people in some verses. And more specifically, this third part of trees is referring to you Edomites, or so-called white people, because also in the Bible you have three sons, the sons of men, which are these other heathen nations, such as the so-called Chinese or Moabites, so-called Japanese or Ammonites, so-called Arabs or Ishmaelites, etc., etc. The sons of God, which are the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and then finally the sons of the wicked, you Edomites. Wherever you Edomites dwell, a nuclear missile will hit, but not all Edomites will be killed in this coming nuclear destruction. The only place where all Edomites will completely be wiped out is in the United States of America, which is biblically known as Babylon the Great. Verse 8, and the second angel sounded, and as it were, a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood, and the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and the third part of the ships were destroyed. Again, anywhere where you Edomites dwell, a nuclear missile will hit. And it's not just these Edomite lands that are going to be hit by nuclear missiles. These nuclear missiles are going to be shot to the four corners of the globe. So some of you heathen countries are going to be hit by nuclear missiles as well and get caught up in this nuclear heat. Verse 10, and the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers and upon the fountains of waters. Again, that great star referring to those nuclear missiles. Verse 11, and the name of the star is called Wormwood, and the third part of the waters became wormwood, and many men died of the waters because they were made bitter. And when we go to that word wormwood in the Strongs, it's G895.
Strong's G894. Obscentheon. Obscentheon.
Obscentheon. Wormwood, the name of a star which fell into the waters and made them bitter. That radiation, which is going to contaminate the land and everything in it after this nuclear fallout. Anybody that consumes anything within the blast radius of these nuclear missiles is going to get a radiation poisoning and die. And the biggest fireworks from these nuclear missiles that are going to touch down upon Earth is on the United States of America, which is again biblically known as Babylon the Great. It's going to be hit with 200 million nuclear missiles and turned into the biblical lake of fire from sea to shining sea. And you have some bugged out, proud American Edomites out there that honestly think that the U.S. could not only survive a nuclear confrontation, but win. This is a quick article from mishtalk.com titled, Nuclear War with Russia Winnable, said Trump's incoming National Security Advisor. Mad is wrong, war winnable, only 20 million will die, just a physics problem. Questioning mutually assured destruction, Charles Kupperman called nuclear conflict in large part a physics problem. Incoming National Security Advisor Charles Kupperman made the claim nuclear war with USSR, which is Russia, was winnable, but that's not scriptural. It's the exact opposite. This is Isaiah chapter 13. I'm going to start at verse 17. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, and the Medes are referring to the Russians, because besides being known as the Medes in the scriptures, the Russians are also known as Gog in Ezekiel chapter 38, and the North Country in Jeremiah 50 verse 9. And it's not just going to be Russia shooting nuclear missiles onto the United States. This is Jeremiah 50 verse 9. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon the United States of America, an assembly of great nations from the North Country, Russia. Not only are Russia's allies, such as Iran and China going to shoot their nuclear missiles onto the United States, but the United States' own allies are going to turn against her, ally themselves with Russia, and shoot their missiles onto the United States too, such as Britain, France, Germany, you name it, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. Those arrows referring to those nuclear-tipped ICBMs. As I said earlier, the prophets had to describe these modern-day weapons with what they knew during their times when they saw these visions thousands of years ago. Back in Isaiah 13, behold, I will stir up the Medes, or the Russians, against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. No peace treaties or peace talks or weapons bans are going to keep Russia from fulfilling these prophecies and shooting their nuclear missiles onto the United States. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, those bows referring to the silos or launchers for these nuclear missiles, back in Jeremiah 50 verse 9. Their arrows shot from those bows shall be as of a mighty expert man, none shall return in vain. And they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb, their eyes shall not spare children. And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. And the Most High overthrew ancient Sodom and Gomorrah with fire and brimstone from the sky. And for this modern day Sodom and Gomorrah, the Most High is going to overthrow it with modern fire and brimstone from the sky. Those nuclear-tipped ICBMs, again 200 million of them, and also laser beams from the chariot of the Most High, which people ignorantly refer to as so-called UFOs, are going to hit this place too, and it's going to turn it into that biblical lake of fire from sea to shining sea, and afterwards a desolate wasteland, which, as it says in verse 20, it shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. Neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there. After this destruction takes place, no man is ever going to set foot in Babylon again. Only desert creatures are going to be here, and Babylon the Great, the United States of America, is going to stand as what a wicked rulership looks like and how not to govern the world. So with this video, I hope you sincere Akim were edified. As always, I'm going to say Abba Bol, Kwam Yasharala. Till next time, Shalom.